I have to remind myself not to laugh at Donald Trump sometimes. Laughing's a natural reaction because Donald Trump is so relentlessly buffoonish. But he is the president of the United States for another 15 months or so. And because he's president, Donald Trump's buffoonery, his rank ignorance, his publicly revealed stupidity are both funny and dangerous. We all need to laugh, and the late-night comedians have been doing a great job for years now of gathering us together to laugh about Donald Trump. And the goofier Donald Trump gets, the better their comedy gets. But the goofier Donald Trump gets, the more dangerous he becomes because he's president. It is well documented that Donald Trump is the laziest president in history. He's also the most ignorant president in history, and he absolutely does not care about details. And to compound the danger, all of that is also true of his White House staff. That's why Donald Trump and his White House staff produce an endless stream of typos and incorrect statements like no other White House in history. And I'm not talking about their deliberate lies here. I am talking only about their mistakes, the things they wish they had not written or said or typed. Donald Trump is in the trouble he is in tonight because he does not know how to care about details, even when he's trying to obstruct justice during the Mueller investigation, and even when he's trying to force Ukraine to help him in his reelection campaign. Donald Trump does not know how to care about details. Just ask Mark Esperanto. That's next. Yesterday, Donald Trump tweeted this. Mark Esperanto, Secretary of Defense, quoting him, the ceasefire is holding up very nicely. There are some minor skirmishes that have ended quickly, new areas being resettled with the Kurds, end quote. USA soldiers are not in combat or ceasefire zones. We have secured the oil, bringing soldiers home. We are not bringing the soldiers home. We have not secured any oil. And Mark Esperanto did not say that because Mark Esperanto doesn't exist. But Donald Trump's defense secretary, Mark Esper, also did not say that. Donald Trump apparently is attributing a quotation to the Secretary of Defense that he supposedly said to the media, but not true. The Mark Esperanto part of that tweet was actually the part I took most seriously because the "we have secured the oil" is a standard Trump lie. That was a deliberate lie. We're bringing the troops home, deliberate lie. But Mark Esperanto, that was a mistake. Does Donald Trump know his defense secretary's name? It took over 2 hours for the White House to correct it, to correct that tweet. We live in a condition now where we don't know whether the president of the United States actually does know the name of the defense secretary. And we don't know if he cares. And we don't know if he cares about anything involving any kind of detail. What, as a generic problem, could be more dangerous in a president than not knowing how to care about detail? Joining our discussion now is Norm Ornstein. He's a congressional historian and resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute, and Matt Miller is back with us. And Norm, I'm sorry, but I got fixated on Mark Esperanto. I just couldn't laugh it off yesterday. And I think this is a mood thing. I think we all laugh at some of this stuff, and then there's other stuff when we see it. We just look at it and realize how far we've fallen and how dangerous a place we are in now.
So, Lawrence, when I first saw this, I went to Twitter and typed in Esper to see if maybe this was autocorrect, which has happened to all of us. It wasn't. This is what he typed in. And what we know is, and the word I've used since the beginning is kakistocracy, government by the least and most unscrupulous among us, the worst kind of government. This reflects a sloppiness, as you say, a lack of concern, not even knowing the names of his own cabinet members besides making up quotes from them. That is unlike anything we have ever seen in American history.
And Matt, the staff lets this sit out there for over 2 hours yesterday. And apparently no one knows there's a problem.
Yeah, it's really incredible. I mean, look, I was a staffer on the Hill for years, like you were. I worked in the executive branch, and if I ever put out a press release with a typo, I was mortified and would try to correct it instantly. The way that they do this, it reminds me a little bit about the story of the brown M&Ms with Van Halen. Van Halen was famous for in their green rooms demanding that M&Ms be delivered with no brown M&Ms, and people thought they were prima donnas for it. And they explained later that they did that because they had these expensive shows with pyrotechnics and heavy equipment that could fall on their heads and kill them in the middle of the show, and they wanted to know that the crew was paying attention to detail. And if you couldn't get the M&Ms right in the green room, it meant that you couldn't pay attention to the stage, and that the band wouldn't be safe while they were working. It's the same thing in this administration. Look, if the president can't get little details right, it means he's not paying attention. And you just have to look at the debacle in Syria right now is the perfect example. The president made the decision he didn't want troops there. Fine. A president that paid attention to details wouldn't have just done things willy-nilly. He would have worried about, well, how do we make sure that we get out without seeing hundreds of ISIS prisoners escape? How do we get out in a way that doesn't lead to bloodshed of the Kurds? How do we get out in a way that doesn't give license to Iran and Russia to run wild? But he doesn't pay attention to the little details or the big details. I think that's one of the problems you see come up over and over again in the administration.
Yeah, and Norm, in an imaginary world where Donald Trump did not have any criminal impulses or any inclinations to cross legal lines at all, this would be the central problem of the Trump White House, is that, and Donald Trump himself, is that he cannot comprehend detail, never mind master detail. He can't even begin to get a grip on it.
It's true across the administration, though. He set the tone for everybody else. When you lose hundreds, if not thousands, of children in a child separation policy and can't keep track of them despite court orders, when you don't file with renters their ability to keep their housing when the shutdown occurred, as the Department of Housing and Urban Development did, all of this, the lack of interest in governing, the sadistic quality to it, the corruption that goes along with it, they're all part and parcel of the same thing. It's kakistocracy, it's autocracy, and it's kleptocracy, all combined into one. And you're right, you can make humor out of Esperanto, and we could have done our segment in the language of Esperanto, I suppose. But it's not a laughing matter because it's all tied together with the corruption that we have and the horrible governance that this country's been put through for the last almost 3 years.
Norm Ornstein gets tonight's last word. Norm Ornstein, Matt Miller, thank you both for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Lord.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.